From J.O. Christian Field in Storrs, Connecticut, it's UConn Husky baseball action this afternoon. It's the Connecticut Huskies versus the Huskies of Northeastern. Hello again, everyone. This is Darak along with Tony Savino and our technical director, Tom Bowen, and our field engineer, Jeff Dobek. A beautiful day today here at J.O. Christian Field. WHUS Sports has been made possible in part with Connecticut Baseball. It's run and grants from Huskies Restaurant, Subway, footlong sandwiches, Ted's Restaurant, and the Browning Tavern. WHUS Sports is subsidized by the undergraduate student government of the University of Connecticut. Well, it's the last Husky broadcast this year, the last Husky baseball game of the 1982 season. The Connecticut Huskies with a record of 8 wins and 22 losses, going against Northeastern Huskies, who have a record of 7 wins, 13 losses, and 1 tie. And to give us the starting lineups for today's broadcast, here's the Stallion, Tony Savino.
Oh, my, well, it's a glorious day here at J.O. Christian. Beautiful sunny weather, and here are the starting lineups for this afternoon's game. First, for the Huskies of Northeastern, starting in center field, batting first, Kevin Gurney. Terry O'Malley, the catcher, is batting second. Bill O'Leary at third, batting third. Steve Veronesi, the designated hitter, hitting at fourth. Bill Lagos, the right fielder, batting fifth. Kevin Carey around at first, batting sixth. Ron Valeri, the second baseman, seventh. Paul Bates in left field, batting eighth. And Chris Burris, the shortstop, batting ninth. On the mound for the Huskies of Northeastern, Tony DiMaggio. DiMaggio, a freshman from Norwich, Connecticut. This is his first start of the year. He comes in with an ERA of 7.95. Northeastern not blessed with great pitching. Their team ERA is over 10 in double digits. For Connecticut, starting lineup leading off, Rick Veneziano at third, Tom Rossi batting second in right field, Paul Tinkham, the left fielder, batting third, Bill Crawley, who is 9 for 9 on the year, is the designated hitter, batting fourth. Doug Elliott, the catcher, playing in his final game, batting fifth. Sean Granger, also playing in his final game, batting sixth in center field. Wayne Patnod around at first base, also playing in his final game, is batting seventh. Tally Noble batting eighth at shortstop, and Pete Vinson playing second base is batting ninth. On the mound for the Huskies, the ace of the staff, Bill Smith. Smitty with an ERA or a record of 3-3, ERA of 3.23. The last time he pitched was against Massachusetts. UConn won the game 8-6. Smith had a 3-hitter going into the ninth inning, but then tired, and Massachusetts was able to touch him for 4 runs before finally Joe Frager came in to put out the fire. UConn with a record of 8 wins, 22 losses in their 30 games. They're 7-15 up north. Northeastern has a record of 7 wins, 13 losses, and they have tied 1 game.
Well, this is the last game of the season, as we did mention, for the UConn Huskies. A very disappointing season. They were expecting a little bit more. They came out of the gates very slow. Down south, they were 1-7. The first 2 games up north, they also bowed to Maine and, I believe, New York Tech. So they were 1-9 before things even started rolling. A snowstorm interrupted their season. They were off for about 7 or 10 days, came back to win 4 in a row, then they lost 4 in a row, they won 1, and then went into a tailspin, losing 8 straight before winning 2 out of their last 3. The last game they played was, as we said, Harvard, losing to them 5-4. The last home game was last week, a win over Massachusetts, 8-6. And as you said, Tony, the biggest and brightest spot of the team lately has been some of the freshmen that have been playing. Of course, Bill Crowley, designated hitter, the last 2 games went 5 for 5 in his first game. Matter of fact, he's a sophomore. 5 for 5 versus Massachusetts, 4 for 4 for Harvard. But the JV players that they have brought up, him, Rick Veneziano, Paul Tinkham earlier in the season, all some very bright spots. And of course, you can't forget Brian Smith, who is on the mound this afternoon. And this is the team of the future. Even though some of the seniors playing their last games in Connecticut Husky uniforms, if the Huskies lose today, it'll be the least amount of wins since, I believe, 1962 or 64. They have only had 2 losing seasons since that time. One happening in 1980, when I think it was something like 22 and 23. Oh, very shortly below 500.
Three hits, but so far no runs. And here to take you through the next 2 innings of play-by-play is Harold Darak.
Thank you very much. It'll be the top 3 men in the order: Kevin Gurney, Terry O'Malley, and Bill O'Leary. Gurney, a right-handed hitter, flew out his first time up. First pitch is grounded in a dirt foul, and that will be strike 1. Brian Smith, a pretty quick worker on the mound. Wind blowing out towards right field. Infield playing at regular depth. The 0-1 pitch, called strike 2.
Well, Brian Smith has his way, Harold. He'll take that ball back from the catcher and pitch it right away.
Kevin Gurney coming into the game hitting .409. Pitch grounded on the left side. Tally Noble deep in the hole. Backhands. It comes up with a long throw, but it won't be in time. It'll be an infield single for Kevin Gurney.
Well, that was a tough play for Noble as that ball took a high hop, bounced off the heel of his glove, And then with quick reaction, Noble able to grab it with his bare hand and make the throw. But Gurney runs well, and he was able to beat it out. So that's the 4th hit of the game in 3 innings for Northeastern. They've had a runner on in every inning, but Brian Smith has been able to put them away. But they have a man on with no one out, and O'Malley the hitter.
And it's the second time they've had their leadoff hitter up. O'Malley is a left-handed hitter. He topped one over to the first baseman, Wayne Patnaud, who stepped on the bag in the first inning. Gurney on first. Smith in the stretch. Checking the runner at first. Throws to first, and it's not in time. O'Malley on the year leads the team in hitting, but he has played quite a few less games. Pitch ground to the left side. Coming up with it is going to be Noble. Noble's only plays on first, and he makes the play and gets the out. Gurney was just a little bit too far down the base path, and Noble was out of position to throw on to second and try for a double play, but he managed to throw on the Wayne Patnaud, and there was one down here in the top of the third.
Bit of inexperience there, Harold. The third baseman, Veneziano, may have had a shot to cut that off and try to get the force at second, however, did not get over in time, and Noble had to come up with a good play.
Bill O'Leary singled in the first inning past the third baseman, Rick Veneziano. Runner on second base, Smith checking in, fires out, deep fly ball to left field, going back for it is Sean Granger, also Paul Tinkham, and Granger's under and he makes the catch. Runner tagging up, going on the third base, cut off to Noble on the third, but not in time. It goes past third baseman Veneziano and picked up by the pitcher, Brian Smith, who did a very good job of backing up, but Bill O'Leary flies out very deep to center field, and Kevin Gurney tags up and goes on the third.
Good play by Gurney as that ball was hit just about to the deepest part of the ballpark. It's 405 to center. That ball just to left center. Granger has a lot of room to roam, made a nice catch, and Gurney tagged and went to third, got in easily.
So, runner on third base, Steve Veronese comes up to the plate. Veronese is a designated hitter, a left-handed hitter.
Number 16, Steve Veronese.
And he grounded out to the second baseman, Pete Vincent, back in the first. So runner on third, Northeastern's best opportunity to score.
And the Huskies are going to appeal at second base.
It sounded like the umpire said he was out, but he motioned safe, so he is safe. 2 down here, top of the third. Harold Darak along with Tony Savino and Jeff Dobek. Jeff's here to make sure that we don't mess up and he can take the reins next year very easily.
Passing of the baton, so to speak.
Wants to make sure the equipment is all in one piece when we leave it. 1 ball and no strikes.
Hopefully the station's reputation will not be too badly damaged.
Second pitch, called, strike 1, right at the letters. And I know Tom Bowen, the newly appointed sports director back at the station, is cheering that we're going. 1-1 is the count to Veronese. And the pitch into dirt. Nice stop there by Elliott as the ball just died right in front of the plate. And Elliott went down on his knees and stopped it from going to the backstop, saving a run. So the count goes up to 2 balls and 1 strike.
That doesn't happen too many times with Brian Smith, but it's a very frequent sight for Doug Elliott to be blocking those pitches by UConn pitchers.
Next pitch, low and outside, ball 3. So the count runs up to 3-1 on Steve Veronese. He's hitting .333 with no home runs and 9 runs batted in. 3-1 pitch, called, strike 1 on the outside corner. Veronese can't believe that one. He thought it was probably in the spot of that last pitch. But the count is now full. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 down, top of the third. Runner on third base is Kevin Gurney, who led things off with a single deep in the hole to Tally Noble and beat it out for an infield hit. 3-2 pitch, high, ball 4. And now Northeastern has men on the corners, first and third, with 2 outs. And strolling up to the plate, Bill Lagos, the right fielder.
17, Bill Lagos.
Seemed as though Smith pitched very carefully to the left-handed hitting Veronese to face the righty Lagos. Now there's men on first and third. We'll see if Northeastern sends Veronese at first base to try to get a run in from third.
Lagos hitting .310. He plays the outfield. Amazing thing, he has 6 errors on the air. I'm wondering if all those were when he was playing the outfield. First pitch, swung on and missed, strike 1. Lagos singled back in the second to lead things off. Men on the corners. Smith checking the guy at first. Pitch, breaking ball, outside and low, 1 ball and 1 strike. Sun peeking in and out, but blue skies and clouds mixed. And nice temperatures here at J.O. Christian Field for the season final. Line right to the third baseman. Rick Veneziano didn't even have to take a step. And that's the inning. So no runs on one base hit, no errors. Two left on base. At the end of 2.5 innings of play, it's the Huskies of Connecticut 2, Northeastern Huskies 0.
Circus for 6. Oh my, what a way to spend an afternoon.
Pitching on the mound still Tony DiMaggio. He hasn't pitched that bad. Only allowed one base hit and walked one while striking out 0. First pitch to Pete Vincent. Called strike 1 right at the letters. DiMaggio, very small in stature on the mound, 5'8". Comes from Norwich, Connecticut. Next pitch, curveball, high, ball 1.
He's not a big boy.
Matter of fact, there's only 4 people from the state of Connecticut on the Northeastern roster. Gary Frechette, Steve Veronese, Tony DiMaggio, and Bill Baltapalaglio. Pitch popped up deep in the left field. It's going back. Center fielder under it, and Kevin Gurney makes the play. That was really popped up high and deep. And Gurney had to go back to it, almost to the warning track before he caught that ball.
17, Rick Veneziano.
That'll bring up the number 1 hitter, Rick Veneziano, who walked in the first. Scored the first Connecticut run on the home run by Tom Rossi. Veneziano, matter of fact, walked on 4 straight pitches. We'll see if DiMaggio gives him a pitch that he can swing at. A windup and a delivery, high, ball 1. Northeastern playing a lot of opponents that the Huskies have played throughout the year. 1-0 pitch. Ball hits the plate, bounces back to the backstop, 2-0. They split with Harvard. They split with Fairfield. They got destroyed by the University of Massachusetts, 23-1. They have lost 2 to Boston College, split with New Hampshire, just beat Maine this past week, and lost 2 to Rhode Island. Also lost 1 to Providence. 2-0 pitch, high, ball 3. That was way out of the strike zone, and it looks like DiMaggio just does not want to throw a pitch that Veneziano could swing at.
Well, Veneziano does not present a very big target at 5'6". However, DiMaggio wouldn't be close to Will Chamberlain with some of these pitches he's throwing.
The windup and the 3-0 pitch. Again, high, ball 4. Goes back behind the catcher, Terry O'Malley. Veneziano running down the first, thinking about going to second, but holds that up. So Veneziano walking for the second straight time on 4 straight pitches. And that'll bring up Tom Rossi, who hit a line drive home run to right field back in the first.
Right fielder number 18, Tom
Rick Veneziano is one of those dying breed 2-sport athletes who plays hockey and baseball now as well. Pretty good left winger, huh, Tom?
Not too bad, and that's very true, Jeff. I think
you're seeing less and less of it nowadays.
There's not too many players.
Last one I remember is Randy Levine in baseball and basketball.
That's just as tough.
And Levine is playing AAA ball for the Iowa Cubs in the American Association. We wish him luck. First pitch to Tom Rossi, line drive to right field. It's just going to go foul. So Rossi again going with the pitch to right field. And another line drive, hard hit ball, but it just curved foul. Veneziano will go back to first base, and Rossi will retreat back to the batter's box.
When you think about it, Harold, only 2 Huskies have hit the ball well. Rossi hit that long home run, and then Tinkham followed with a hard liner to right. But since then, the Huskies have not been able to make real solid contact with DiMaggio. No one has struck out yet, but they're not hitting the ball that well.
No balls and 1 strike, 1 out. DiMaggio checking the sign, looking at the runner Veneziano at first base, kicks and delivers. Swung on and missed. Tom Rossi, it's a foul ball. Veneziano was trying to go down to second base, but quickly waved back by the umpire out in the field. 0-2 now to Rossi, and he's going to have to protect that plate. On deck hitter, Paul Tinkham, the left fielder. Wind still blowing out to right field. Infield playing, double play depth, ball high, ball 1.
Veneziano not getting a good jump at all at first base. Going back as DiMaggio, the left-hander, kicking toward the plate.
1 ball and 2 strikes. DiMaggio now delivers. High, ball 2, and Rossi had a notion to swing at that ball, but held up in time. 2 balls and 2 strikes. 1 down here in the bottom of the third. The Connecticut Huskies leading Northeastern by a score of 2-0. They're trying to end the season on a high note by possibly winning 3 out of their last 4. 2-2 pitch swung on, popped up into center field or shallow right center. Bill Lagos coming in for it, making the catch, and they are now 2 down in the bottom of the third. That ball was heading towards center, but the wind blew it towards right. And Lagos had the position to make the catch. I'll bring up Paul Tinkham, the toy cannon. Tinkham lined down to the right fielder, back to first.
Tinkham.
He's done a fine job since being installed into the lineup as a freshman. Hitting .250, but 2 home runs, 9 RBIs. Pitch popped up. It's going to be out of play down the first baseline.
Harold, speaking of Tinkham, should be an interesting situation at the catcher position next year. Brian Fitch, a backup catcher. Tinkham, a catcher by trade. Doug Elliott is graduating, and I know there's a couple of catchers coming up from the high school ranks, so it'll be interesting to see what Andy Baylock does, if he keeps Tinkham out in the outfield or puts him back to his old position.
No balls and 1 strike. Ball inside, 1-1. Rick Veneziano on first base. There's 2 down here in the bottom of the third. And Paul Tinkham has a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. The last WHUS Sports broadcast of this semester. Good luck to all the students with finals. Ground ball to the right side, scooped up by Ron Valeri, fired on the first, and that's the inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, 1 left.
No run.
And at the end of 3, it's 2-0. Why don't we have Jeff Dobek here? Why don't we talk about a little bit about soccer next year? Of course, the soccer season, as we did mention, begins on September 1st when the Huskies play Wisconsin at Milwaukee, right across the way at Gardner-Dow Field. Coach Joe Maroney losing 6 seniors, but the word has been out. They have 7, count them 7 All-Americans coming in, and 2 All-New Englanders, one the brother of Thuki Stavridis, Fotis Stavridis, who was All-New England, playing down in Danbury.
And one of the big problems that the Huskies have been having in their spring games so far is a lack of offense, defeating Eastern Connecticut 3-0 and Hartwick a tie of 1-1, 2 games that come right to mind. And Coach Maroney says they've got to get a little bit more on the offensive side after losing Carlos, Pedro DeBrito, Elvis Comrie. The goaltending will be probably handled by Tony Pierce with the graduation of Jim Renahan, but you never know about that. Things could change.
One thing the Huskies have been going with this spring is without Bill Maroney, who has been injured. He had a little bit of surgery done on his leg in January, and so when he is healthy next year, that'll be a big plus, and he can play almost anywhere. He's very versatile.
He certainly is, and the Huskies will be playing a 21-game schedule, including 14 home games and 7 away games, plus the first annual Big East tournament here at Gardner-Dow Field on the last weekend of the season in November. Other home games against Philadelphia Textile, Penn State, Alabama A&M, San Francisco, Ohio State. That is a first-class home schedule for next season's soccer team.
Well, back to baseball. Kevin Carey, the first man up for Northeastern in the top of the 4th, swings and misses. Strike 1. Carey, the first baseman, flew out to the right fielder, Tom Rossi, back in the 2nd. 0-1 pitch, low, ball 1.
And, Jeff, I just want to ask you a question. Is it officially Gardner-Dow, or what's the situation with the field?
Well, as you've been following it in the Connecticut area campus, some people have been calling it the second Gardner-Dow Field. The original Gardner-Dow Field, named after a football player who lost his life in New Hampshire way back in the 1911 season or something like that. That field is behind Hawley Armory on campus, and they just changed it to here.
1-2 pitch popped up. Doug Elliott calling for it, and he makes the catch in foul territory. 1 down here in the top of the 4th.
I think they should call it Harold Darak Memorial Field.
Memorial?
Not dead yet.
Well,
In some
there's some dispute about that, but we won't get into that.
Number 12.
Now, notice that Coach Maroney will not call it Gardner-Dow. He just calls it the soccer field.
Ron Valeri, the second baseman. I'm going to try to keep as much baseball in here as possible. Singled back in the 2nd. He steps up to the plate. First pitch ground to the left side. Veneziano has a glove on it, drops it, picks it up, drops it, throws the first, not in time. I think they'll give it a base hit because it was hard hit. No, they're going to call it an error. So Valeri gets on Veneziano's error. 1 away in the 4th, and Northeastern has its first runner on in about 3 batters.
Fielder number 24. Ball.
A lot of Northeastern runners have been getting on all game. They've averaged about close to 2 base runners a game.
Well, they've left 5 men on in 3 innings heading into this inning, so Brian Smith has definitely not had an easy game so far.
Runner on first, Paul Bates struck out back in the second. He's a left-handed hitter, and he is standing at the plate. 1 down here in the top of the 4th. First pitch, swung on, line drive, base hit up the middle. Taking and going around second base, Valeri, he's heading for third base. He'll be untouched. The throw comes to the third baseman, Veneziano. I was pretty sure they were going to cut it off, but they did not. The runner on first not going to third, so Bates comes up with a base hit. And Valeri on the third. So runners on the corners for the Northeastern Huskies. And that'll bring up the number 9 hitter, Chris Burras.
Stop number 5. Chris
And Burras popped out to the second baseman back in the second. This is the bottom of the order doing the damage on Brian Smith right now. First an error by Veneziano, putting a runner on first. Bates coming up with the single. There are now men on the corners as Valeri went all the way from first to third on the base hit. Runner staying close at first. The kick and delivery called strike 1.
And the Huskies are playing it in at the corners. Veneziano, even with the bag at first base, Patnod is holding. Vincent and Noble playing at double play depth.
0-1 pitch, high, ball 1 as the curveball just did not break. But the Connecticut Husky baseball team will have a lot of people coming back that have seen a lot of action. We'll get to that in a little minute. High, ball 2, 2 balls and 1 strike. Just looking at the lineup, Bill Crowley has been doing well of late. He'll be back along with Chris Casilius, Rick Veneziano, Ed McMillan, who's not playing, Brian Fitch, Tom Rossi, Bill Smith is graduating. He's the other senior. Matter of fact, I mentioned a little bit earlier, Tim Hamlin was the only senior not starting. Bill Smith, another senior not starting, and that's just counting regulars. A couple pitchers haven't been starting. 3 balls and 1 strike. Phil Black, a starting senior pitcher, and Kenny Brown also. Ball 4. So now we have the bases full of Northeastern Huskies. And Coach Andy Baylock calling a timeout is going to bring the top of the order Kevin Gurney. Gurney will be coming up to the plate. So Baylock goes out. Warming up on the mound is Kenny Brown. Brown, the left-hander, senior, getting himself some final action in the final home game of his career, final game of his career for the Connecticut team.
Well, the good thing about the final game of the year, Harold, is that Brown by trade, of course, is a starter, but it's just like the game before an all-star game. You're liable to put anybody into the starting rotation. The Huskies haven't played since Wednesday, so everyone is probably pretty well rested.
Kevin Gurney, 1 for 2, flied out in the first, singled deep in the hole in the third. First pitch low and inside, ball 1. So quickly, Brian Smith has dug himself another hole. Base is full of Northeastern Huskies. Valeri on third on an error. Paul Bates, base hit on second, and at first Chris Burras, who walked, swung on, and fouled. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Brian Smith had this problem against UMass. He walked 2 men in a row. Baylock went out to talk to him, and Smitty just threw strikes after that and was able to retire the side.
1-1 pitch. Swung on and missed, strike 2, and a nice play by Doug Elliott as that ball just dropped bottom right out. And Elliott was there to stop and make the play. So quickly, Gurney behind 1 ball and 2 strikes. And Smith now bearing down and concentrating just a little bit more. 1-2 pitch, swung on and missed, strike 3. 2 outs, but he's still not out of it. He still has to face Terry O'Malley, the catcher.
A couple of nice pitches there by Smith, especially that curveball to strike out Gurney. Gurney taking a half-hearted cut, but a good slider that went to the outside corner. 2 outs now. O'Malley, the hitter, bases still loaded.
O'Malley, the lefty, coming up with 2 down. First pitch outside, ball 1. Brownie warming up just a little bit harder now, as when we mentioned his name at first, he was just going and throwing very lightly. 1-0 pitch from Brian Smith, outside, ball 2, and he wasn't too happy with himself on that one. The curve just did not move. So Smith has some pitches that move nicely and some that just don't do anything. And that's been his problem with so far this game. 2-0 pitch, swung on, fly ball to shallow center field. Sean Granger coming in, making the play, and the Huskies get out of it unscathed. No runs, 1 base hit, 1 error, 3 Northeastern Huskies left on base. Again, the 3.5 innings of play. It's Connecticut 2 and Northeastern 0.
Thanks very much, Tom Boland. This is Jeff Dobek along with Harold Darak and Tony Savino. Through 4 innings, Northeastern has left 8 men on base. And they trail the Connecticut Huskies 2-0 as we go to action in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Bill Crowley, Doug Elliott, and Sean Granger, the 4, 5, and 6 hitters for the Connecticut team, will be up at the plate. Crowley 0 for 1, breaking a consecutive streak of 9 straight hits, which he has accumulated over the past 2 games. This is his 3rd career start ever in varsity as a Connecticut Husky. He went 5 for 5 in his debut, 4 for 4 the second time he played, and right now he's 0 for 1 and coming up to the plate.
I was trying to figure out who DiMaggio looks like, and the closest I can come is Rich Tassi. He used to play here a couple of years for the Huskies. He's got very short hair and a mustache out there, very swarthy-looking character.
Swashbuckling.
Swashbuckling.
Leading off for the Huskies in the 4th inning.
Yes.
The designated hitter number 21.
Bill Crowley
Crowley.
grounded out to the shortstop, Chris Burris, in the 1st inning. And he is at the plate. Huskies 2 runs, 1 base hit, 1 error. Northeastern no runs, 5 base hits, and no errors. First pitch to Crowley, outside, ball 1. Huskies have been having problems getting timely hits throughout the season, which is part of their 8-22 record. Also, Doug Elliott said a little bit earlier, when they have the pitching, no hitting, and vice versa. Called strike 1, 1 ball and 1 strike. They have had some good parts of the season, though, some highlights. They beat St. John's here 4-0. Kenny Brown pitching very well. Line drive down the right field line is going to drop fair. Base hit for Bill Crowley. He's going to go around first, going for 2 and possibly a triple. He's now rounding second base, going for 3rd. We're going to have a play. No, they're going to cut it off. A stand-up triple for Bill Crowley. And he continues his torrid hitting right down the right field line. Beautiful play. And that's going to also up his slugging percentage. And Crowley on 3rd with no outs here in the bottom of the 4th.
Well, it can't hurt it, Harold, but I'll tell you one thing. A lot of his hits have been to right field.
10th hit and 11 trips to the plate this season for UConn.
Making the announcement that Crowley is now 10 for 11. And Jeff is figuring out his average.
His slugging percentage.
Now batting the catcher, number 23.
But anyway, a lot of his hits have been to right field. That one placed just over the first baseman's head. Its slugging percentage is now 1,450. Not too bad.
Not too bad. Stepping up to the plate, Doug Elliott. He grounded out to the shortstop back in the 1st. Bill O'Leary, the 3rd baseman, playing in, as well as Kevin Carey. And DiMaggio in the stretch, checking the runner at 3rd. Here's the first pitch to Elliott, inside, ball 1.
Well, Doug Elliott is a very good bunter, so you might think they would try something along the suicide squeeze, but he is their power source, leading the team in homers and RBIs. So we don't expect them to try anything but have Elliott just try to swing that run in.
1-0 pitch, called strike 1. Crowley's average figured out at .909 through 3 games by our statistician, Jeff Dobek.
Doubling as executive engineer, or technical engineer, whatever.
Chief engineer.
Chief engineer.
Thank you.
Ball bounces in front of the plate, 2-1. And a nice stop by the catcher, Terry O'Malley, to make sure the ball did not go back to the backstop. 2 balls, 1 strike, and now the UConn fans around the field starting to really get at the pitcher, Tony DiMaggio, heckling him pretty hard. Elliott at the plate, runner at 3rd, no outs. Pitch to him, line drive to left, and it's just going to curve foul.
Interesting, in the 1st inning, Harold, you mentioned that the home plate umpire came over to the UConn bench and told him to cool it with the razzing. I remember not too many years ago, and that was a given part of baseball. As a matter of fact, it was actually an art to be able to ride the opposing pitcher.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Doug Elliott, man on 3rd base, Bill Crowley. And here's the 2-2 pitch, swung on and tapped foul behind the plate. Count remains at 2-2. Sean Granger will be the next hitter up for the Connecticut Huskies. 2 balls, 2 strikes, no outs. Bottom of the 4th. DiMaggio sets, kicks, delivers, and Elliott swings at a bad pitch and just fouls it off. That was high and outside. Certain to be ball 3. Huskies' fielding percentage this year has been .953. opponents at 968, so they have made their share of errors. They have one here today. Only have 21 double plays this year. Ground ball left side, picking it up is shortstop Chris Burris. He fires on the first, and they get Elliott in time, and they hold the base runner at third. So Elliott grounds out again 6-3, and Bill Crowley still standing on third base.
Infield was playing in,
Number 9.
and shortstop Burris came up with the play cleanly, threw over to first. So the Huskies not able to get the run in with their first batter. Let's see if Sean Granger is able to get him in. Now, Granger looks down at Baylock to see if a possible play is on.
That's going to bring up the next two batters for Connecticut, left-handers versus a left-handed pitcher. First pitch of Granger, low and outside, ball one. It'll be Granger, then Wayne Patnaud for the Connecticut Huskies. Lefty versus lefty twice.
But these lefties are left-hand hitters that are good at hitting the left-hand pitchers.
1-0 count. It goes back behind the plate, pass ball, and coming in to score will be Bill Crowley. So Huskies push across that run on a pass ball. I think they'll call it a pass ball. It did touch the catcher's glove, and he should have made the play. But the count goes up to 2-0. And the infield now going back into their normal positions.
Well, that's how you get the runs in. Last week against New Hampshire. I keep saying Northeastern, New Hampshire. 2 runs consecutively in 1 inning came in by UConn pitchers uncorking wild pitches. So turnabout is fair play in this game.
2 balls and no strikes to Sean Granger, and DiMaggio's pitch inside ball 3. Now one goes back to the backstop also. Northeastern not warming up anyone in their bullpen. As DiMaggio pitching straight away, right off the rubber. No one on base for Connecticut. They have a 3-0 lead. 3-0 pitch, called, strike one. That was right over the pipe. Ball 4. And Huskies get another base runner on. This time it's Sean Granger. We'd like to remind you, you're listening to UConn baseball action on WHUS Storrs, Connecticut. And we also like to remind you, Connecticut baseball action on the Sound Alternative made possible in part through generous underwriting grants from Huskies Restaurant, Subway, footlong sandwiches, and Ted's Restaurant, along with the Bounty Tavern.
Of Bangor, Maine, where the weekend never ends.
WHUS Sports, subsidized by the undergraduate student government of the University of Connecticut. First pitch to Patnaud, curveball, strike one called. Granger on first, Patnaud at the plate. 1 down, 1 run has already come across in this inning. Crowley tripled, pass ball brought him in. Granger on first. Here's the 0-1 pitch, curveball again, high. This time 1 ball and 1 strike.
DiMaggio really having problems with his curveball. That ball has been up in the moon a couple of times, and it's cost him a run. A high curveball got away, and Crowley able to score. UConn leading it now 3-0.
1-1 pitch. Called strike 2, so Patnaud looking at 2 curveballs.
That one was over, but still a high pitch, and that with Patnaud's power could put that ball a long way if he hung it too much.
DiMaggio checking the sign, looking at Granger at first base. Checks the sign one more time, kicks and delivers low, ball 2. Wind now blowing in from center field. You can tell exactly what kind of game it is by just looking at the flagpole out in center field. If it's blowing out, you're going to see a lot of runs. If it's blowing in, you'll be lucky to see a few.
But it usually is blowing in.
2-2 pitch, runner going. Call strike 3, Granger at second. He's going to slide in without any problem. So a stolen base for Sean Granger, but Wayne Patnaud striking out, looking. And there's now 2 down here. And they are really getting on the umpires' backs.
Shortstop number 4.
Well, I'm really surprised that the Huskies have only attempted 1 stolen base, that one by Granger. Looking at O'Malley in the warm-up, his arm did not appear to be that strong. Right now, Paul Swartz coming over to the Northeastern dugout, and he's had a few choice words to say. And some of the players on the bench do not seem to be taking him too seriously, judging by the smiles on their faces. So that's a warning to each team now.
And I'm wondering what he's going to do, clear the benches or what? Call the game a forfeit? Well, there's 2 outs here, runner on second base, and the more home plate umpire Paul Swartz talks to people, the more they give it back to him. At least the fans are really getting on his back. Man on second base, Sean Granger to batter, Tally Noble. Noble, first time up, grounded out to the third baseman, Bill O'Leary. First pitch high, ball one.
Not a great end to this year for Tally Noble. Had a much higher batting average, was up near 280 a couple weeks ago, but really has been in a slump and is ending the season on a low note.
1-0 pitch to Tally. Curveball again high. 2-0. So Granger's on second. He's getting quite a jump. Noble gets a base hit. He should score without any problem. They're not holding him on at all. DiMaggio just looking once and then pretty much working on the batter. And that's not working either. The count goes to 2-0. And here's the pitch. Line drive to center field. Going back for it is Kevin Gurney. Back. And it is right at the base of the fence. It's a base hit. Tally Noble rounding first, going to second with a stand-up double. Easily scoring from second base is Sean Granger. And the Huskies now have a 4-run lead, 4-0.
That ball was hit high and very, very deep. Right fielder Lagos and center fielder Gurney went back for it, but it was hit perfectly between them. Hit at the base of the fence. Stand-up double for Tally Noble. For Noble, his third two-base hit of the year, 12th run batted in. UConn now leads 4-0.
And it's going to bring up the number 9 hitter, Pete Vincent, who flew out to the center fielder back in the third inning.
And that double by Tally Noble has prompted Sean Riley to get up in the bullpen for the second time this afternoon.
DiMaggio looking at Noble at second base. He's dancing a little bit. Pitch, ground ball, foul down the third base line. No balls and 1 strike. 2 down here in the bottom of the fourth inning. 4 runs, 3 hits, 1 error. Make that 4 runs. It should be 4 hits, I believe. Nope, that's right. 4 runs on 3 hits. 1 error for Connecticut. Northeastern, no runs on 5 hits and no errors.
And the UConn hits have been a single, a double, and a triple.
No home run.
No home run. They don't have a single yet. They need a single. That'd be great. They've hit for the cycle.
1 ball and 1 strike as the pitch to Vincent was high. DiMaggio looking into catcher Terry O'Malley, checking the runner at second. Looks back at the plate, kicks and delivers low. 2 balls and 1 strike.
This DiMaggio appears to have a good curveball, but he just doesn't seem to have any control over it. But he's only a freshman, so might be hearing the name Tony DiMaggio in the future as more than just a batting practice pitcher.
2-1 count to Pete Vincent. Low, ball 3. 3 balls and 1 strike.
That pitch was close. Swords called one like that, a strike, when Brian Smith was pitching with a left-hand hitter up there, one in just about the same place.
3 balls, 1 strike, 2 outs. Noble at second. And Vincent at the plate. Swung, left field, deep fly ball base going back, kissing goodbye. A 2-run shot for Pete Vincent, and the second home run of the game for the Huskies. 4th base hit, all of them extra bases. Tally Noble will score in front of Vincent. The Huskies now up their lead to 6-0, and a nice shot by Pete Vincent. Second home run for Vincent, and he gets congratulated by all the members of his team, and that was gone as soon as he saw it hit his bat. That was a deep fly ball over the 340 mark in left field. So Huskies quickly picking up their 4th hit, their 4th extra base hit, and they lead it 6-0.
Well, 2 opposites here. UConn really making their hits count. 4 base hits, 6 runs, no runs, and 5 base hits for Northeastern.
Rick Veneziano, the number 1 hitter, has walked twice. He has seen 8 pitches, and all of them have been balls. And the 9th pitch is also a ball. It's another curveball high and outside. Veneziano has not seen a pitch that he could even attempt to swing at yet. Most of them have been way out of the strike zone. 1-0 pitch, he swings and misses. Now it's a little bit high.
Give you an idea of how Veneziano has done as far as walking. He's played 4 games coming into this game, has led off all of them, and has only had 10 official at-bats.
He's walked, I believe, 8 times. Curveball, that's outside corner, called strike 2.
Including this game, he has walked 8 times, but now he has a 1-2 count.
With 2 down, the Huskies are warming up. Well, just Brian Smith is warming up on the sideline, just keeping warm. It's a long inning. Next pitch high. Oh, again, out of the strike zone by quite a bit. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, Smitty had a little problem last inning with his control, and I'm sure he's working down there with Doug Elliott to try to see if he can correct it.
Someone on the sideline suggesting that DiMaggio call a pitch out. Line drive, right field, base hit. Rounding first base, Venetiano quickly picking up the ball is Bill Lagos. He fires it into the cutoff man. It goes past Valeri. Chris Burris backing up. And the first base hit that was a single for the Huskies in this game, the 1, 2, 3, fourth base hit of this inning.
And Charlie O'Malley coming to the mound this time is called, and we might see a new pitcher coming in, Harold.
I believe that's exactly what it's going to be. And warming up before on the sidelines
was Sean Riley, and it looks like he's going to come in the game. Now, I don't even have to think about this one. Charlie O'Malley reminds me of Gene Mock with the silver hair out there and the sunglasses. Could be Charlie Fox also, who coached the Giants for a while, but Sean Riley is going to come into the ball game.
Speaking of the Giants, what an incredible win that was yesterday over the Mets, huh, gentlemen?
Riley is 6'1", 170 from North Smithfield, Rhode Island. I don't want to talk about that. He's a freshman. Right-hand pitcher.
My stomach is still turning after that game. First time you can see the Mets play up this area.
And they make fools of themselves.
That's about it in a nutshell.
Relief staff, but I think there'll be brighter days. While we have a time, as long as we're talking about Major League Baseball, Jeff, what are your picks for the divisional winners for this year?
Oh, well, not the Mets.
I don't want to make you think. I mean, the questions get tougher as we go along.
The senior promise last night. Montreal is going to win the entire National League, and they haven't gotten on track there because it's a little bit too cold up there. But they're going to come in and they're going to take everything in the National League. In the West Division, the Braves might hold on, but I think the Dodgers might come back just with the experience. The Braves will have a fine season, though. Next year will probably be their year. In the American League, well, I don't know. The Red Sox have gotten the pitching so far, but I don't expect that to.
Restaurant, the next time you're in one of these fine local establishments, tell them how much you enjoy listening to UConn Husky Baseball and Harold Darak on WHUS, which WHUS Sports is subsidized by the USG of the University of Connecticut, USG standing for, what is that, Last innings complete here at J.O. Christian, 8-2 UConn, and here to take you through his final 2 innings of baseball action, Harold Darak.
Thank you very much. It looks like it's going to be Gary Frechette. Well, let me check that. I think we have another pinch hitter. It's going to be Kevin Carey.
He's picked.
Okay. Kevin Carey, Ron Valeri, and Paul Bates. I was like, just kind of looked in the wrong inning, okay? First pitch. And the second pitch, both swung on and missed. No balls and 2 strikes.
I think the broadcasters are playing out the season today.
Yeah, we're on salary drive time.
You know, after a 6-run lead, you get kind of punchy. No balls and 2 strikes. Swung on left side, down the third base line. It just goes foul as Rick Venetiano was diving for it. And it did not come up with it, so the count remains at no balls and 2 strikes.
So Kenny Brown, who is exactly 1 day older than Tony Savino, is on the mound for the UConn Huskies.
No balls and 2 strikes. To the batter, Kevin Carey. Carey 0 for 3 today. Pitch outside and high, 1-2.
I think the whole crowd's getting very punchy too, Harold.
And here's the 1-2 pitch, just fouled and kept in play. So Carey just swinging on and trying to protect his at-bat, did so very well there. No substitutions out in the field at all. We haven't seen either Tim Havlin or Bill Smith, the seniors, the only seniors among the regulars who have not played yet today. Pitch grounded foul again. And the count remains at 1-2. Line score, the Connecticut Huskies, 8 runs, 7 hits, 3 big errors. Northeastern, 2 runs, 7 hits, and no errors. Harold Darak here along with Tony Savino and Jeffrey Dobek. The 1-2 pitch by Brownie. Inside and low, 2-2. And the 2-2 pitch popped up right behind the plate. Doug Ellie giving it a chase. He's right in front of the press box, and he makes the play. You might have heard that. One down here in the top of the 7th.
Well, that's one area that Doug Elliott has really improved on in his career at UConn. In high school, a lot of problems with the foul pop-ups, which is a very difficult play for a catcher with the spin on the ball, bringing it back toward the field. But Elliott making that play very steady. Had to watch out for the press box. He was right near that, and he made the catch.
That'll bring up Ron Valeri. Valeri singled in the 2nd, got out on an error in the 4th, and grounded to Rick Veneziano, stepped on the bag with men on 1st and 2nd, back in the 5th. So one down here, top of the 7th. First pitch, called strike 1. Huskies pitchers still have yet to get Northeastern down 1-2-3 in any inning. But Kenny Brown is one step closer as his curveball is across the plate. No balls and 2 strikes. Brown checks the sign, winds, kicks, and delivers. Oh, it was close to his ear, but quickly getting down is Ron Valeri, and it's ball 1. Maybe Kenny Brown trying to brush him back a little bit crowding the plate.
Well, that's one thing we haven't seen is a fight.
Oh, don't press your luck.
Boy, we heard about a lot of fights last night in that Islander game. Islanders beating Vancouver 6-5 in overtime. A lot of fights in that game.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out. And here's Kenny Brown's pitch, lined up first base line foul. And the count stays at 1-2. The wind now definitely gone here at JO. The flag is just flying limp. Out in center field. Limp. I know, I was thinking about that. What is it? It's limp out there. Popped up behind the plate. It goes out of play. Count still staying at 1-2.
Well, after a lot of hard stuff thrown by Brian Smith, Kenny Brown throwing off-speed pitches, and he has these Northeastern hitters a little bit off stride.
And the 1-2 pitch to the batter. Swung on. Fly ball left field. Paul Tinkham camping under it. And 2 down here in the top of the 7th.
Well, I've said this before, and I guess I'll say it again. Paul Tinkham will never make anyone forget Willie Mays out in left field. He's a catcher by trade, but he's been doing a pretty good job out there in left field and really has shown an eagerness to learn the position at any rate, and he's done an adequate job.
Left field number
As we mentioned before, it'll be interesting to see where he'll be playing next year.
That'll bring up Paul Bates, left-handed hitter. Bates so far 1 for 3. Striking out in the 2nd, singling in the 4th, and flying out in the 6th. First pitch is a ball. Second pitch swung on. Missed strike 1. 1 ball and 1 strike.
If I'm not mistaken, Paul Bates is a pretty good relief pitcher, isn't he?
No.
Next pitch is popped up over the dugout. Yes, Paul Bates in one game, matter of fact, 1/3 of an inning, allowed 2 walks, struck out 1, allowed 2 runs, both of those earned, and his ERA is a gorgeous 54.55.
I thought so.
Looked like Darak in high school.
Darak and the Dominoes. Next pitch, ball 2. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
That's who you are.
That's right.
That's what your ERA was at Charlton High School, wasn't it, Harold?
I never pitched. Next pitch tapped out
That's
for
what
the
the
mound.
hitter said.
Kenny Brown picks it up, throws on the first to end the inning, and the Huskies get the Huskies out 1-2-3. No runs, no hits, no errors, none left. I was an outfielder. At the end of 6.5 innings of play, it's Connecticut 8 and Northeastern 2. But let's keep it here. Last broadcast for Tony and I, but Jeff Dobek will be taking the reins next year, and we already talked about soccer, we already talked about football, but WHUS next year will be covering 4 women's field hockey games and 4 women's soccer games. And, of course, the soccer team finished, I believe, 3rd in the country, and the women's field hockey team was number 1. They won the national championships for NCAAs. And so there's going to be another two more exciting teams that we're going to be covering next year.
And I don't know if the people on campus have noticed, they are building a new field hockey. Both women's soccer, number 3 in the country. They went down to North Carolina, and they finished 3rd in the country. And the women's field hockey team defending NCAA Division I national champions.
For the Connecticut Huskies, it'll be Paul Tinkham, Bill Crowley, and Doug Elliott. We have a change in catchers. Roach will be behind the plate. We do not have his first name. Matter of fact, he's not even listed on our roster, but nonetheless, Mr. Roach behind the plate. First pitch to Tinkham, ground to the left side, picked up deep in the hole by Chris Burris at short. Throw to first, and they just retired Tinkham 6-3.
Also a change on the coaching lines at first base. Larry Keogh now down there replacing Tim Havland.
That's going to bring up Bill Crowley. Crowley 1 for 3, having an off day, and the only reason we kid about that is he came into this game with a 9 for 9 record, batting 1,000.
Well, I'm surprised that Crowley's hitting. I thought Bill Smith might go in there as a pinch hitter to get him an at-bat.
We'll see. There's still one more inning to play for the Connecticut team if this keeps up and they keep the lead. Crowley has a triple back in the fourth. He's ignited a four-run rally. They've been proving to be the leading and winning run so far. Pops one up the first baseline. Kevin Carey calling it off. He's fighting the sun, but makes the play in foul territory. So there's two down here in the bottom of the seventh. It'll bring up Doug Elliott, who is 0 for 3. Grounded to short, flied out to left field. And Bill Smith has a batting helmet on, and he is swinging a bat along the sideline. He might be pinch hitting for Patton and going to play first base. If Granger gets up after he and keeps his spot. First pitch to Elliott, low and inside, ball 1. I'd like to remind you at 4 o'clock it'll be Spanish music with Jose Aponte. We'd like to thank Ray Dixon in the Caribbean combo. Fair ball down third base line. Rounding first will be Doug Elliott looking for 2, and he's going to have a stand-up double and a nice play for Doug Elliott. A gorgeous shot right down the line. I thought it was foul, but it just went over the bag. Another extra base hit for the Connecticut Huskies, and the Huskies only have 8 hits on the day, and only 1 single. All the others have been extra base hits. As I was saying, I'd like to thank Ray Dixon in the Caribbean combo for letting us preempt him today. From 1 to 4, we could hear Ray Dixon now throughout the rest of the year, at least up until September when there's some soccer broadcasts going on.
And again, an argument here. Charlie O'Malley out there arguing with Paul Swords, probably over that hit by Elliott, which he thought was foul, but Swords called fair.
I thought it was foul, too, from my position, but we're way out of position. Swords and O'Malley do have the better view. But nonetheless, that's probably going to stand. As Elliott's on second base, Sean Granger is up to the plate, and on deck, it looks like it is going to be Bill Smith, probably playing first base.
Sean Granger.
Granger, 1 for 2. Grounded out to the pitcher in the second inning, walked and stole second, and eventually scored in the fourth, and doubled in the sixth, and started off a 2-run rally there, leading off the sixth. First pitch to Granger, curveball high and outside, ball 1. Pitcher for the Northeastern Huskies, Sean Riley, checks a sign, looks the man at second, fires, and it's an off-speed pitch outside, ball 2.
So unless something changes very drastically, Harold, Sean Granger will finish as the UConn top hitter this year. Came in at hitting .330. Of course, not counting Bill Crowley, who has been to the plate only 13 times.
2-0 pitch to Granger. Low, ball 3. 3 balls and no strikes. As we already mentioned, he is 1 for 2, and that will bring his average up. Pat Nord 0 for 2. And next man after that is Chris Casilius. Casilius hasn't had that many at-bats. And here comes a 3-0 pitch to Granger, ball 4, and there are now Huskies on first and second. That'll bring up Bill Smith. As we said, pinch hitting for Wayne Patnod, probably remaining in the game at first base.
So for Smitty, this will be game number 30 he has appeared in, and it will give him the team leadership in that category. He only missed 1 game this year. That was against Providence. Smitty now, with his 30th game, is hitting at .276, has 1 home run and 12 runs batted in.
And he's tied for the team lead in stolen bases with 5. He has 5. Tally Noble has 5. Both of them going 5 for 6.
Huskies as a team have stolen 27 bases in 31 games. Check that, 28.
Bottom of the 7th, 2 outs, 2 Huskies on. And first and second, Bill Smith, the batter. First pitch in, bounces in front of the plate, hits the catcher in the face, and both runners will go on to second and third.
That makes 2.
Wild pitch there.
This is the type of thing that Andy Darak has had to contend with the UConn pitching staff, and that's wildness. Doug Elliott has a little bit more than just a few bumps and bruises from being hit by the ball, and right now Roach behind the plate probably feeling the same way.
And with an inexperienced catcher behind the plate and runners in second and third, the pitcher better be fairly close to getting the ball over the plate. Pitch outside and low, 2-0. Warming up on the sideline, I believe, is George Thomas again. He's the lefty, 5'9", out of Brockton, Massachusetts. 2-0, and pitching straight away is Sean Riley. Winds and delivers, 3-0.
Well, Bill Smith getting to see his first action this afternoon probably does not want to walk. So maybe Andy Darak will give him the green light. UConn up by 6 runs.
Smith has 12 walks on the year. 3-0 pitch, called strike one, and he was taking all the way. The Huskies have a full line of relief pitchers on hand. Everyone is well rested since Wednesday's game. 3-1 pitch, swung on and missed, strike two. So 3-2, 2 outs, runners on second and third. On third is Doug Elliott, second base, Sean Granger, team leader in hitting. On deck, Tally Noble. And here is the payoff pitch. Ball 4, and so the Huskies are all on the bases. Elliott on third, Granger on second, and Jeff, you're making me laugh. Bill Smith on first.
I didn't do anything.
It's just that look you have. That'll bring up Tally Noble, the shortstop. Noble is 1 for 3, grounded to third, doubled in the fourth, and grounded out to the pitcher back in the sixth. Base is loaded, and Sean Riley throws his first pitch, and it goes past the catcher. Wild pitch coming into from third base is Doug Elliott. Another wild pitch scores a run.
That's the third time that's happened, Harold. I was just going to mention they had thrown 4 wild pitches or pass balls. Now make it 5, and 3 UConn runs have scored via that route. So now it's 9-2.
Again, runners on second and third, and George Thomas still warming up in the bullpen.
Pretty easy trip for Doug Elliott. He doubled, went to third on a wild pitch, scores on a wild pitch.
Sean Riley again pitching straight away. The windup and the delivery inside ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes, 2 outs. Bottom of the 7th. Men on second and third. Pitch high, call, but it's in the strike zone. Called strike 1. I thought it was going to be ball 3, but it was a little bit different for home plate umpire Paul Swartz, who calls it strike 1. 2 balls and 1 strike. Low and outside, 3-1. Noble stepping out for a little while. Now gets back in the batter's box. Bill Smith on second. Sean Granger on third. The 3-1 pitch, ball 4. So the third consecutive walk given up by Sean Riley, and I think that's about it for Charlie O'Malley's boy in there. Charlie walking to the mound now, the head coach of Northeastern, and he's going to wave in the lefty.
Well, this inning started good for Riley, Harold. He retired the first 2 hitters, Tinkham and Crowley. Then Elliott doubled down the left field line. Granger walked, and a couple more walks have have been sandwiched around pass balls and wild pitches. And UConn has scored a run this inning, and they have the bases loaded, 2 outs. 9-2 is the score now, and looks as though George Thomas is coming into the game.
Riley in 3 innings allowed 3 hits, walked 4, and so far has allowed 3 runs. I believe all of those being earned. And he is going to be accounted for. All the men that are on the base paths right now. That being Noble at first, Bill Smith at second, and Sean Granger at third. That'll bring in George Thomas, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, has only played in 1 game, at least from our statistics. He is the co-captain. In the 1 game, he allowed 1 run to score, but failed to retire anybody, and that's an ERA of infinity, which is just above 10.01, the team average.
Well, you can see they've had as many problems as UConn has pitching-wise, Harold. Most of it from inexperience and wildness.
And we'll see if the left-handed pitching George Thomas can get the Northeastern Huskies out of this jam.
Is that any relation to George Thomas Seaver, Tony? Tom Seaver.
Pitching today with a record of 1-3, soon to be 2-3. I don't know.
There's no biases here for.
I was thinking maybe he was related to Frank Thomas, but who knows?
The Milwaukee Brewer outfielder?
No, that's
Who's
Gorman
that?
Thomas. Frank Thomas used to be the Mets' all-time leading home run hitter.
1964.
62.
34.
Yeah. But now
It's broken by Dave Kingman. With what, 37 or 38?
37, I think. 37.
1975, 6?
Anyways, please, just getting back here.
Attention, please, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
want to talk about the Mets.
George Thomas Seaver, Frank Edwin McGraw, Darryl McKinley Harrelson. What a team that was.
Pete
Pete Vincent up now. Vincent is
Peter Ray Vincent.
1 for 3. Last time up, he tried a suicide squeeze, stepped on the plate, and was called out. Other than that, he's homered. A 2-run shot back in the 4th and flew out to center field, so bases are loaded. Let's see what Vincent can do. First pitch, slow curveball, strike 1 called. Bases are full of UCONNs. Sean Granger at third, Bill Smith at second, and standing at first is Tally Noble. 0-1 pitch, 1-1 is Pete Vincent. Looked that ball right into the catcher's mitt. Thomas just using off-speed stuff pretty much throughout his first 2 pitches. Next pitch called, strike 2, 1-2. Man, it was a foul tip.
One thing I find amazing, Harold, is that throughout this whole game, as sloppy as it seems, Northeastern hasn't made an error in this game.
1-2 pitch, low, 2-2. You don't want to be called out on strikes with the bases loaded. It's not a nice way to end the season. 2-2 pitch to Pete Vincent, swung on, and he keeps himself alive by popping a foul ball down first baseline. And the count stays at 2-2.
On an Andy Baylock team, you don't want to get called out on strikes anytime. A game against Providence, UConn, in a key situation, Brian Fitch struck out on what appeared to be a little bit out of the strike zone, but Andy Baylock said he went down swinging, and that's where you have to be, is aggressive.
2-2 pitch to Peter Vincent. Swung on, popped up. It might be in play. Running over for it is George Thomas. The pitcher, he's all the way near the dugout, and he runs in the dugout. Does not make the catch. Almost killed himself on the play. And the count stays at 2-2.
Well, Roach didn't exactly come over there to find the ball. He probably could not find it as it came off the bat of Vincent. And he was watching it. And then the first baseman, Carey, came over along with Thomas, the pitcher, to try to catch up with the ball, but neither one could. Would have been the catcher's play ordinarily.
So Thomas getting himself his breath back. 2-2 pitch, and Pete Vincent still at the plate. Huskies on the bases. All 3 of them. Bases are full. And here's the 2-2 pitch with 2 outs. Swung on again, fouled off, and Vincent again remaining alive. And Thomas throwing a lot of pitches to his one batter. A lot of them being fouled off. Two-two pitch. Call, strike 3, but the batter drops the third strike and tags Vincent. And that is the inning. So Vincent, after all, that does get called out on strikes, but the Huskies come across with 1 run on 1 base hit. No errors, 3 Huskies left at the end of 7 complete. The score is Connecticut 9 and Northeastern 2. Chris Burrows, Kevin Gurney, Terry O'Malley for the Northeastern team, and quickly, number 9 hitter has 2 strikes against him. So Kenny Brown working very quickly, trying to dispose of Burris, who was 0 for 1 versus Brian Smith with 2 walks. 0-2 pitch just outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. For the Huskies in the bottom of the 8th, probably the last time the Huskies will bat in this inning, it'll be, or in this year. Strike 3, swung on and missed. So for UConn, it'll be the 1, 2, and 3 hitters: Rick Veneziano, Tom Rossi, and the senior Tim Havlin. Kevin Gurney now walking up to the plate. Gurney 1 for 4, singled in the 3rd. Other than that, he has flew out, struck out, and grounded into a fielder's choice. Scored 1 run back in the 6th. First pitch to him, ball 1. Kenny Brown looking to get this game over with. It's dragged on quite a bit so far. Swung on, left side. It goes under the glove of Veneziano. Deep in the hole. No, he throws. 1 bouncer, not going to make it. And it's going to be a base hit for Gurney, his 2nd infield hit of the game. Veneziano just couldn't get to the ball. And Noble was deep in the hole, had a long throw, could not make it. And it will be a base hit, the 8th for the team of Northeastern. 8 hits for Northeastern, 2 runs, 8 hits.
Catcher number
For Connecticut,
22.
9 runs, 8 hits, and 3 errors.
Well, the book is closed on Sean Riley. He pitched 3 innings, gave up 3 runs. All 3 were earned, 3 hits, walked 4, and he did not strike out a batter.
That'll bring up Rick Roach, who is another left-handed hitting catcher, just like Terry O'Malley was before him. Rick Roach was substituted last inning. He hits a pop-up towards left side. It's going to drop in for a base hit. Tim Havlin fields the ball cleanly. And there are now runners on first and second as Roach comes up with the team's 9th hit.
Third baseman number 15.
And now
Bill
Northeastern has
O'Leary.
out-hit Connecticut 9-8, but UConn has the 9 runs, Northeastern with only 2.
Bill O'Leary now, 1 to make that 2 for 4. He's been on base 3 times, another time due to an error. And he singled in both Northeastern runs back in the 6th inning. So runners on first and second, 1 strike to the batter. Called strike 2, low and inside corner. Just hitting. Count goes up to 0 balls and 2 strikes. Men on first and second, Kenny Brown has already picked off 1 batter, and he is now at the plate right now. O'Leary was the victim. Ground ball left side, Veneziano picks it up on 1 bounce, steps on third, long throw to first, and it is safe as Bill Smith tried to tag the runner. Veneziano's throw was just off the mark. Smith went for the tag, could not get it, but it will be a fielder's choice, 5 unassisted, and Gurney is out. Rick Roach goes on to second base, and Bill O'Leary is on first.
Number 14. Gary Fraschetti.
Good play by third baseman Veneziano. Took the short hop, stepped on third, but his throw a little bit off the bag. Smith had to come off first base to catch it, and then tried to sweep around tag to get O'Leary, but could not touch him.
Now I'll bring up Gary Fraschetti. Fraschetti pops the first one up out of play, strike 1. So Kenny Brown just finding his rhythm, and really as soon as he gets the ball, just firing it back. Working very, very quickly. Very much unlike Northeastern pitchers. 0-1 pitch, high, ball 1. He wasn't too happy with himself on that one, and the ball just slipped right out of his hand. 2 down here in the top of the 8th inning. And the 1-1 pitch fouled up, out of play, 1 ball and 2 strikes. On deck, Bill Lagos for Northeastern. And here's the 1-2 pitch, a slow curve, high, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ball 3 is Kenny Brown. Just missing again, so the count goes full. Runners on first and second, 2 outs. Everyone will be running. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Popped up right side. It's Bill Smith running for it along with Doug Elliott. Elliott calls for it, makes the play, and the side is retired. So, no runs on 2 base hits. There were no errors, and 2 Husky runners left on at the end of 7.5 innings of play. Connecticut 9, Northeastern 2. Rick Veneziano, Tom Rossi, Tim Havlin, 1, 2, and 3. Hitters here in the bottom of the 8th inning of play. And Tim Havlin kiddingly pointing out to left field to some of the alumni, saying he is going to hit a shot over the fence. We'll see if he can pull a Babe Ruth. First pitch, ball 1 to Rick Veneziano. Having a good day, 2 for 2. Walked twice also, stole a base, and scored 1 run. Swung on and missed, strike 1. 1 ball and 1 strike. George Thomas in the game for the Northeastern team. He has struck out the only batter he faced. There's only been 2 Husky strikeouts this game, 1 by Pete Vincent, 1 by Wayne Patnon. 1-1 pitch coming up. Ball low. 2 balls and 1 strike. Rick Veneziano having a fine game. Came into this game batting .300 on the nose. He is now 5 for 12 with a lot of walks, 8 walks. And he just gets ball 3. 3 balls and 1 strike.
Well, I think the Huskies have found themselves a leadoff hitter for next year. Rick Veneziano has been hitting very well, and he finds himself on base a lot.
Fouls it off behind the plate. 3-2. And George Thomas getting himself a new baseball, rubbing it up a little bit. Now he's on the mound, checking the sign, shaking one off, winds, kicks, and delivers. Again fouled off behind the plate over the fence. And Thomas throws a lot of pitches, but the Huskies are battling him quite a bit. Every batter he's gone to 2-2, 3-2, and a lot of foul pitches. And here's a 3-2 pitch again to Venetiano. Popped up, this time in the infield, in play. Running over for it is Bill O'Leary to third baseman. The wind's taking it, and O'Leary one-hands it right in foul territory. One down, top of the eighth, Tom Rossi. Rossi homered in the first, flew out to right in the third, line to the second baseman in the fourth, grounded to the shortstop in the sixth, 1 for 4. Rossi having a very disappointing season. Last year he batted .352. This year he came into the game batting .276, but he started out a lot worse, and down in North Carolina, he came back below 200. And he had to bring that average up quite a bit to get it to 276. But he's 1 for 4 here today. And he's facing George Thomas. First pitch, swung on, left side, picking it up on 2 bounces. Bill O'Leary, throw across the diamonds, over the first baseman's head, bounces on the fence, and he's going to try for second. The right fielder going to get the ball and sliding in without any problems. Rossi, the ball goes over the man on second's head, and backing up as the left fielder. They're throwing the ball all over the place, and no one's there to catch it, but Rossi will remain on second base. Let's score that E5 as the third baseman, Bill O'Leary, just threw that ball miles over first baseman Kevin Carey's head. Then backing up was Bill Lagos. Lagos threw to second base, and the shortstop decided he didn't want to catch the ball. Let it go into left field. Coming in for it was Paul Bates. Bates picked it up, and Rossi remained at second. So 1 down, Husky on second, and Tim Havlin stepping up to the plate.
Well, you know how they've been saying is surprisingly this game looks sloppy. They hadn't made an error, but boy, when they make errors, they make them count. I mean, they were playing ping pong, and the other players were the net. Ooh.
Havlin's up, man on second base. First pitch, called strike 1 on off speed. Timmy Havlin, senior out of Brookfield, Connecticut, wearing number 2. Playing his last game as a University of Connecticut Husky. 0-1 pitch, low, ball 1. Havlin started off slow and he had a little bit of a streak there in the middle, but never really regained his hitting form. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, man on second base. And pitch to Havlin, swung on, popped up into shallow left field. Chris Burris, the shortstop, on the outfield grass, makes the play. And there's 2 down here in the top of the 8th. Bill Crowley, 1 for 4. So far playing his most disappointing game, but it's really tough to come up with as good as games as he's had the last 2. 5 for 5, 4 for 4. Now today, 1 for 4 with a triple and a run scored. Runner on second. Can the Huskies get him in? 9-2, they lead. Connecticut over Northeastern. Bottom of the 8th. Pitch popped up right around the home plate area. The catcher going for it. Roach can't make it, though. Didn't die for it. Might have had a chance if he did. And a strike 1 to Bill Crowley.
That ball hit right off the fists and was not very high. Did not give Roach a chance to get under the ball. Gave it a good shot, though. Crowley still has a life.
At the end of the game, we'll be going over a list of thank yous. Tony Savino and myself ending our broadcasting career here at the radio station, giving the reins over to Jeff Dobek, Tom Boland, and the rest of the motley WHUS Sports Department crew. Swung on and missed, strike 2. No balls and 2 strikes, 2 outs, runner on second. That's Tom Rossi. Got on an error. And hits Crowley in the back. He had no chance to get out of the way. So men on first and second, Doug Ellie going up to the plate, and we can hear the alumni here saying, "This is it. Give it your best shot. This is the last time up." Andy Baylock has even come over to talk to him, said, I'm sure he's probably saying, go for the fences.
Well, Doug is the captain of this team, has played on the varsity team for 3 years now. The only one who has played longer than Doug has been Tally Noble. And
the catcher, number 23,
Doug Elliott,
Doug
playing in his
Elliott.
final game, leads the team in at-bats. and RBIs, home runs. Been the team leader most of the year.
Elliott 1 for 4 today with a double. Back last inning, scored a run. Doubled, wild pitched over to third, wild pitched home. First pitch high, ball 1. Men on first and second. On second base is Tom Rossi. On first is Bill Crowley, who was just hit in the back with the ball. And Doug Elliott at the plate, 1-0 is the count on him. We've seen a lot of fireworks here today. Huskies up by 7, 9-2. Ground ball, foul, just past Andy Baylock at third base.
In case you're looking ahead to the top half of the ninth inning, Bill Lagos, Kevin Carey, and Ron Valeri, the first 3 hitters for Northeastern.
1 ball and 1 strike to Doug Elliott. Beautiful day, sun still shining, even though there are clouds in the sky. Temperatures very nice. It's baseball season, baseball weather. Spring has finally arrived in Storrs, Connecticut. 1-1 pitch, long fly ball to right center field, going for it is Lagos and Gurney. It's deep, Gurney's there, and he makes the catch right at the warning track. So, no runs on, no base hits, 1 error, and 2 men left. Doug Elliott is smiling as he's coming back in, just missed it by a little bit. The end of 8 complete innings of play. It's Connecticut 9 in Northeastern 2.
Could just probably thank the whole station in general and the whole university for giving us the chance.
I'd like to thank you two guys for having a fine career here at WHUS. Tony with me at the football games this year, and Harold basketball, and Tony hockey too, and baseball, and all those sports.
We tried them.
You guys are fun to work with.
Haven't learned anything yet.
Well, I think we have a lot to be proud of as far as broadcasting games. Doing hockey games is probably the most rewarding as far as showing how much this station has done as far as sports is concerned, because we'll go up to games in Massachusetts, Maine, and people will say, you guys really cover these games, and not too many stations. It gives you an idea of just not too many stations cover all their road games, and I'm talking even basketball, even Big East basketball. A lot of the teams aren't on the road, but with every game, there was maybe 1 or 2 games we didn't cover this year.
I'd like to thank the students for that. They help support our fees with their fee bills, and people who donate to the Radiothon. We've gotten all the sponsors. We have to thank all of them throughout the years, including Huskies, Subway Footlong Sandwiches, Huskies, or at least Subway, Steve Rogers, who's the owner of that, Ted's Restaurant. I'd like to thank Villa Spirit Shop, Holiday Spirits, who always comes through, Jerry Miesla. Cheese and Things came through a few times for us, and Nice Trow was our sponsors in the past. All the sponsors that we have gotten here, there, and everywhere. And
Extra Mark Convenience Store.
Extra Mark Convenience Store.
I finally got that one straight. I couldn't even read it, but I know it now.
UCONN Friends of Soccer. So just a lot of sponsors throughout the years helping support UConn sports through WHUS. Every major sport that we could possibly broadcast, we try to bring to you.
And one other person I'd like to thank is the hockey coach, Ben Kurland, who's been signed on for at least another year. And congratulations to Ben, and good luck in the future to his Husky hockey team, which I'm sure has many, many bright years ahead of them.
Okay, once again, the final score, Connecticut 9 and Northeastern 3. Thanks for listening to Connecticut Baseball Action on WHUS. Our next broadcast will be Wednesday, September 1st, 1982, when the UConn Husky soccer team will defend their 1981 Division I National Championship versus Wisconsin at Milwaukee from Gardner Field at 3:55. Connecticut Baseball Action on WHUS has been possible in part through various generous underwriting grants from Huskies Restaurant, Subway Footlong Sandwiches, Ted's Restaurant, and the Bounty Tavern. WHUS Sports is subsidized by the undergraduate student government of the University of Connecticut. Our technical director has been Sports Director Tom Boland, Field Engineer Jeff Dobek. So for Jeff, Tom, Tony Savino, the Stallion, this is Harold Eric saying so long from J.O. Christian. Connecticut Baseball is a WHUS Sports exclusive presentation. UConn Athletics covered completely, extensively, and exclusively on WHUS Storrs, the Sound Alternative.